PNR Networks is a member of Patreon. Show your love for our shows by joining our ongoing fundraising campaign and get some fantastic perks in return. Check it out and become a Patreon sponsor. You can sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/PNR Networks. And thanks for your support.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
It's Kim versus TC in the battle of the lists.
My list is better.
My list is better.
My list is better.
No, it's not. My list is better.
Kim or TC, who has the better list? From Subject Cinema, this is Front Row 5 and 10 with Kim Brown and TC Kirkham.
Hey guys, welcome to another week here on Front Row 5 and 10, brought to you by the good people that bring you Subject Cinema. That would be me and him, the me being Kim Brown.
And I'm TC Kirkham, the him of that group, and
Yes.
welcome.
Hi.
Front Row 5 and 10 is our weekly list show, back on its regular Thursday slot this week with all kinds of lists and good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd like to contribute, we'd love to hear from you and possibly use your list as one of our lists. If we use your list, you'll get full credit and the prize.
Yeah.
So send us your suggestions at frontrow@pnrnetworks.com.
We'd love to hear
or
from you.
subjectcinema@pnrnetworks.com.
Mm-hmm.
And we definitely love to have that. This was your idea.
Yes. Well, it's the whole concept. We've all heard it before, and I figured we could take our spin on it. And I figured it would be really interesting to see what we say. These are our top 10 lists of characters we love to hate.
I have to admit, I went primarily for movies and television.
That's fine. I did too. Although one of them I do think you're going to be like, what?
Well, one of mine I put on here just deliberately because it's not really a villain. The person is just a clueless yutz, but you'd love to hate.
You'd love to
hate to love them.
Okay.
It was a comedy series,
This
too.
is as opposed to characters that you hate to love. And that's something completely different. Characters that you know are the bad guy, and you're supposed to.
These are the characters you love to boo hiss at.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a German word that I still can't say, and I'm trying to teach myself because I don't speak German. So anybody out there, if there's anybody in our audience who is Sprachen Sie Deutsch, please, if you could tell me how to say this word, I would be ever so grateful. There's a German word. The basic definition of this word is someone who has a face that's just asking to be punched.
I thought we figured out the pronunciation of this.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that. Well, you think you got
I don't
it.
remember what it is. So.
I can't. Yeah, I don't have it right in front of me, so I'm gonna have to.
We're not sure how to pronounce the last syllable.
Yeah, that's
the problem.
that's where we're having the biggest.
The rest
issue.
of it is okay.
Yeah, it's basically the word is there's no translation for it in English, but it's basically a word that's someone whose face is just asking to be punched.
Uh-huh.
And these are 10 of those characters that for whatever reason, you just, when you see them on screen, you either want to shove your fingers in your ears or your hands start itching because you want to slap the crap out of them.
Okay.
As I said, as opposed to characters you hate to love, characters that are the bad guys, but you almost tell yourself, oh, maybe they're not that bad. Like, best example I can come up with, Loki from the Marvel movie universe. Mm-hmm. You want to hate Loki, you know he's the bad guy, but you just, at least if you go by all the girls online, you can't, because Mostly I think it's because it's Tom Hiddleston. But, you know, hi, Tom, if you're out there. So I came up with this list, so you get to go first.
All right. My first one at number 10 is the goofy one.
All right.
It's from a TV comedy, and it's not that the person is a villain, so to speak. Mm-hmm. It's just that their comments and beliefs and thoughts are so out there compared to the norm that she was always getting slammed down by her 3 cohorts on the show.
Okay.
My number 10 is Suzanne Sugarbaker from Designing Women, played by Delta Burke.
Okay.
Suzanne is a very antebellum type of woman, kind of clueless, and ran Sugarbakers with her older sister Julia, who was much more worldly and much more intelligent, in my opinion. Designing Women is one of those few adult comedies that I ever got into. I thought that show was a scream. I loved it. And it was mainly because of the relationship between Suzanne Sugarbaker and the company and Sugarbaker's delivery man, Anthony Bouvier, I think it was. Bouvier. Played by the wonderful, lost far too soon, Meshack Taylor. They had a unique friendship. And Anthony basically spent his whole time teaching Suzanne why she was wrong about everything. It was a funny show, and she made the character so clueless that you couldn't help but not stand her, and yet you couldn't not like her, too. Because she was, you know...
She wasn't a mean person.
Not by trade, no. She was a beauty pageant winner. She was a spoiled brat as a kid. Always got what she wanted.
Because she was the baby.
Yeah, she was the baby of the family, and it was funny as hell.
Can you tell one of us is an older sibling?
I mean, it was a really good character, and I know they're bringing it. They're trying to bring Designing Women to Broadway. I hope they do good casting, because if you don't have the right cast, you're not going to do it right. And Delta Burke was awesome in that character. Number 10, Suzanne Sugarbaker from Designing Women.
Okay, I actually found that word.
Okay.
The word, it's a German word, like I said, it's Backpfeifengeist, we think. B-A-C-K.
Although it's probably Backpfeifengeist, all pronounced together.
There's no, it's B-A-C-K-P-F-E-I-F-E-N-G-E-S-I-C-H-T.
So it's Backpfeifengeist.
We're ruining this word.
Sorry. Can somebody give us the right pronunciation of it, please? Anyway.
Basically what this word means is a face in need of a slap.
Right.
And nobody fits that category better than the person at my number 10. Both incarnations of this character.
Okay.
My number 10, characters that I love to hate, Carl Denham. From the original version of King Kong and the version that came out in the 2000s.
Honey?
Yeah?
Got news for you.
Yeah?
Slap ain't going to do that dumb
No,
idiot
but I don't think there's a German word for punching somebody in the face with a sock full of quarters. Repeatedly. Played in the 30s version by a gentleman named Robert Armstrong and in the Peter Jackson remake by Jack Black. Carl Denham is a movie producer who is desperate for something new, something that will make people go to his films and make him famous. And his idea of how to make himself famous is to kidnap a wild animal from an uncharted island, bring him to one of the most populous cities in New York, and chain him to a stage so people can gawk at the giant ape. 2 guesses what happens, and if your second guess is everything goes horribly wrong, give yourself a cookie.
It's not exactly unknown as to what happens in King Kong.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know. But he is such an unmitigated a-hole. He has no feeling and
he's 100% ego.
He has no feeling and no regard for the fact that this is a living, thinking, breathing, functioning, feeling creature. And I know some people are going to be like, oh crap, here she goes. You know, because I know that some people are probably like, well, you're just some tree-hugging hippie. And maybe I am. But the idea of taking this animal from its environment, plopping it in the middle of New York, not even putting it in a zoo,
Plop.
but but putting it on a stage and chaining it there so people can stare at it? What the hell is wrong with you, you prick?
Language. Honestly.
Sorry. So my number 10, Carl Denham from the multiple versions of King Kong.
Anybody else remember a DC comic from the early 70s called Plop?
No. No,
if you remember that, write me. My number 9 is the ultimate bitch. This woman...
Should we be playing Meredith Brooks?
No, she doesn't deserve something that good.
Oh.
This woman is ruthless, cunning, deceitful. She will cheat on everybody. She will sell her own family out. She will do anything, all for the love of her business.
Okay.
This is not a good thing.
Never.
And yet, she's so good at it, you can't help but despise her and love the way she does it.
Okay.
My number 9 is Angela Channing from Falcon Crest, played by Jane Wyman.
That's a terrific choice.
I loved Falcon Crest. We watched it for years, my mom and I.
And the bitch remark is perfect.
Oh, she's the ultimate bitch on television. She was worse than any of the daytime divas.
I think she was actually the first person I ever heard say bitch on television.
You bitch.
To Lana Turner, of all people. And I was like, I remember being like, oh, can you say that on TV? Oh my gosh. You know?
Well, geez, it was progressive time. It was 1982.
Yeah.
Falcon Crest ran for 8 or 9 seasons. It was a great show, and Angela Channing ruled Falcon Crest Winery with an iron hand.
Yep.
She didn't care who she sold out. She didn't care who she pissed off. She even got married for the convenience of business.
Yeah.
When Cesar Romero joined the show halfway through the run. And you just wanted to strangle this woman, and yet you had to stand back and admire everything that she did to make sure that the business stayed on top.
Yeah.
That somebody wouldn't cheat her out of it or screw it up. And Jane Wyman was just excellent because she was such a wonderfully sweet lady outside of that character.
Yeah.
And it was just, how can you play such a heartless woman, and you're just funny as hell on the talk show circuit?
Well, look at all the people who look at all of the people who have played some of the most evil, depraved monsters in horror.
Yeah.
People like Vincent Price,
yeah.
Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, and all anyone ever said about them were what gentlemen they were.
Yep.
That's a great choice.
My number 9, Angela Channing from the long-running CBS primetime soap Falcon Crest.
Fantastic choice. It's very ironic, actually, because my number 9 is also from a TV show, and it's also from the same network.
Uh-huh.
My number 9 is J.R. Ewing from Dallas, played by...
Number 9?
Number 9, yeah.
Yike! Okay.
Well, some people... Look, JR's a really awful person, but there are some people on my list that are a crap ton worse. So, J.R. Ewing was the epitome of the ruthless businessman, even before Gordon Gekko ever said, greed is good, greed
10
works.
years before, actually, yeah. Dallas premiered in 1978.
He is sleazy. He is ruthless. He is amoral. He does it all with that great big smile and calling people darling.
And that 10-gallon hat on his head.
10-gallon hat. And the fact that every time he patted somebody on the back, that was where he could find the softest spot to stick the knife in. And he had so much fun doing it. You could tell he enjoyed screwing people over in the boardroom,
particularly Cliff Barnes,
and in the bedroom.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that came out of the earlier seasons of Dallas was the whole "Who Shot JR" cliffhanger, and I mean that held everybody's imagination all across. I don't think it's unfair to say all across the world. I think that would be fair to say, wouldn't you?
Yep, and I was right then, and also about the same person floating in the pool.
Yeah,
I was right both times. won 50 cents each time.
Yeah, I lost a quarter to my sister. That's back when a quarter bought you a candy bar. But
or a comic book.
But the thing is, when they did the whole mystery and you were trying to figure out who shot JR, the biggest problem was you had this freaking laundry list of people that would have been happy to plug him.
Yep.
And how many but how many different reveals did they shoot? They pretty much
They shot 7 of them.
Yeah.
Including one with JR shooting himself, which they did as a joke.
Yeah.
Which was pretty funny.
Either that or somebody, was doing a wormhole theory or whatever. I don't know. So my number 9, J.R. Ewing from Dallas, played by the late, great Larry Hagman. There'll never be another one like him. Thank God.
Okay. My number 8 is the only science fiction woman on my list. I have several science fiction men. We'll come to those a little bit later.
Okay.
But my favorite science fiction woman to hate. It was a groundbreaking role at the time because nobody had played a role quite like this. No woman had ever played a role quite like this because although she came after Angela Channing on Falcon Crest and after Alexis Carrington on Dynasty, who did not make my list, by the way, I think she broke ground because no science fiction show had ever had one like this.
If it's who I think it is, not in America, no.
No, not in America. And I think it is who you think it is. My number 8 is Diana from the V television series played by Jane Badler. We're not talking about the remake with Lorena Baccarin, although I've heard she was good too.
No, I was thinking like British-wise, you had
don't talk about. I don't have any of the women from the British shows, but
right.
yeah, okay.
Sorry.
But anyway, Diana was as ruthless as Angela Channing.
Oh yeah.
As definitely out to not caring whether she killed humans or not, because while she looked human, she was actually part of the lizard people.
Yes.
And
actual lizard people,
yeah.
as opposed to the people out there who.
And isn't it interesting that rumor started flying right around the time that show premiered? Interesting. Anyway, and now they're trying to do a big screen version of it.
A V?
Original producer Kenneth Johnson is trying to do a big screen version. So we'll see what happens. Diana was just lovely to hate, especially when Lydia came along in the series. Lydia, played by June Chadwick, and Diana, played by Jane Badler, had these really great, snarky, though they never got physical that I can remember.
No.
They had these great snark fest discussions with each other because Lydia couldn't stand Diana and vice versa. And it was very interesting to see how they were going to handle things from that point on. And of course they were trying to deal with the humans, Diana trying to screw over all the humans that were trying to fight back against them.
Yeah.
It was quite interesting. If they'd gone to series after the first miniseries, it would have made more sense.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting till the second one when they were supposedly all gone. But it was still a lot of fun, and Jane Badler was absolutely great in that role. And I also later loved her when she joined Mission Impossible as a good guy. So she's great at everything. Jane Badler's Diana from V, my number 8.
Okay, that's a good choice. Number 8 on my list, I'm only going by the animated version because I've never seen the live-action versions, although I'm sure she's just as hateful in the live-action versions because the person playing her is so good at hateful. Glenn Close is a wonderful actress. My choice for number 8 is Cruella de Vil from Disney's 101 Dalmatians, which came out in 1961. And was voiced by Betty Lou Gerson. Cruella de Vil is, I don't think it would be inaccurate to say PETA's worst nightmare come to life. She is a former schoolmate of one of the female leads. I'm sorry, I've forgotten the wife's name. I know Roger's the husband's name, and I can't think of Anita, yes. Oh, Anita Darling, yeah, right. They went to school together, and now that Roger's a songwriter and Anita is his housewife, Cruella, although in the book 101 Dalmatians, she is married. That poor bastard.
Yeah, and he changed his name because she's the last of the DeVilles. So his name, he took her name instead of vice versa.
Right. There's never a husband brought up in the film, as far as I know. She's all excited because Roger and Anita's dogs, Pongo and Perdita, a pair of Dalmatians, wind up having a rather large litter of puppies, which Cruella is interested in purchasing for a coat. This sick broad who already has a number of puppies that she's gotten from who knows where, and I'd rather not dwell on it, which she intends to turn all of these puppies, these Dalmatian puppies, once their spots come in, she intends to skin them and turn them into a floor-length mink coat because of her love of
Dalmatian coat.
I'm sorry, a floor-length Dalmatian fur coat because she adores furs so much. Oh my God! I'm sorry.
She saw 101 Dalmatians for the first time when we did it for Microfocus a few years ago. She was freaking out.
I was choking with rage. I mean, I knew the whole story, really, but not entirely. And just watching this hideous caricature of a female, I was just like, oh my God. This is the stuff. I would rather sit through the end. I would rather be a 5-year-old kid sitting through the end of Fantasia than to sit through 101 Dalmatians. And the end of Fantasia is friggin' terrifying. She is a horrible, evil, terrible person that if it was up to me, I would have grabbed her by the hair and thrown her into the lowest circle of hell. So, there. My number 8, Cruella de Vil from 101 Dalmatians. Look, you can be a rotten person,
I didn't
but
actually
don't
think of her. That's a good choice.
But don't hurt animals for a coat. I mean,
Yeah.
fur is murder, you know. I mean, sheesh.
My number 7, I think, is the best of the soap vixens of the 80s and 90s. You can tell I was into primetime soaps. My mom and I love them. Mm-hmm. This is a woman who... Every woman around her knew what a conniving little bitch she was. But she had that ability to snow almost every man that walked into her path. Not all of them, because some of them she would be working with. And they would know just how scheming and devilish she could be. Mm-hmm. And the women always knew she was a problem. But somehow she always got in the way of all these things and screwed up things so bad that other things had to be done, and then she had to dig it out another way. But you have that way when you're blonde and gorgeous and blue-eyed and in your mid-40s and looking wonderful, the way Abby Cunningham Ewing looked on Knots Landing, played by Donna Mills. Mm-hmm. Conniving, bitchy, let's see, I don't know how many different husbands she had an affair with. Can't recall off the top of my head. She caused the breakup of at least 2 marriages in the little Seaview Circle cul-de-sac. She ended up, getting involved with the mob, getting involved with environmental terrorists. She actually ended up giving her own company's computers a virus to cover her own tracks on things when she was married to Gary Ewing. Mm-hmm. This woman was despicable. And what she was doing... the reason she had to do the virus is because her nephew almost died from toxic waste poisoning when he was out surveying a new property that she'd been covering up that it was a landfill. Mm-hmm. It was a very interesting character. I liked Abby a little bit better than Angela and Diana because, let's face it, it was Donna Mills.
So she had you under her sway as well.
Yes, as well. My number 7, Abby Cunningham Ewing from Knots Landing.
Okay.
And also Dallas occasionally.
All right. My number 7 was someone who could play good and could play bad. And when he played good, he was usually a really amazing, noble character, you know, trying to stand up and protect the innocent from the darkness and stuff. But when he went bad, holy crap, look out. My number 7 was Grand Moff Tarkin, played by the late, amazing Peter Cushing from the Star Wars universe, specifically Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
When was he ever a good guy?
I mean Peter Cushing.
Oh, okay.
I don't mean...
I gotcha. That's
no.
Okay.
I mean Peter...
You mean the actor in
Yeah,
that
I mean
case.
Peter
Okay.
Cushing, you know, played and, you know, vanquished the undead as often as I've had hot meals as Professor Van Helsing, all different incarnations have said. Uh-huh. You know, he fought off the Hound of the Baskervilles as Sherlock Holmes. Uh-huh. But when he played somebody that was dark, like Baron von Frankenstein or Grand Moff Tarkin, he was as mesmerizing as a cobra and twice as deadly. The scenes between him and Carrie Fisher when he's threatening Princess Leia with the destruction of her homeworld of Alderaan unless she names where the rebel base is held, you can tell he is not bluffing. He is going to blow up this planet. And when she does tell him, he blows up her planet anyway. with the withering line back to her, "You're far too trusting." And then allowing the planet to get blown to hell by the Death Star. Of course, it turns out that she lied to him about the rebel base. His own arrogance winds up getting him killed during the end of the film when the rebels are attacking the Death Star, and one of his aides says that maybe he should think about evacuating. And his response is, "Evacuate in our moment of triumph." And it doesn't end very well when the Death Star goes bluey.
Oh, no.
But his arrogance, his complete superiority and conviction that the Empire is doing the right thing by being a bunch of soul-crushing fascists is really, really terrifying. My number 7, Grand Moff Tarkin from the Star Wars universe.
My number 6 is my first foray into the many for the guys in the science fiction realm. I'm a big science fiction fan, and I love all different types of characters. Normally you come out rooting for the hero, but there's just sometimes there's a villain so larger than life that you have to be able to cheer the bad guy occasionally without actually cheering him. Because you're thinking, wow, this is something else. And they're having so much fun doing this. And the actors it makes it look so good. And no, it's not Darth Vader, by the way.
That's okay. I didn't think it was.
Vader actually didn't make my list. Sorry.
He didn't make my list either because the idea of slapping Darth Vader in the face, there's another word for that. It's called suicide.
Oh, it would be suicide with this guy too, but I still love to do it. And I can tell you who it is with one word. Khan!
I'm glad I'm sitting over here.
Number 6, Khan Noonien Singh.
I would have been deaf.
As played by Ricardo Montalban. Not that pretender Benedict Cumberbatch. In Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan specifically, but also in Space Seed, the original television episode. Montalban is deliciously evil and bad in Star Trek II.
One might also argue batshite crazy by the end of the film.
Well, yeah. By the end of the film? He's that way when they find him.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He's so focused on revenge for the death of his wife that, it's kind of nuts. Montalban excelled at playing villains. He was the one good thing about the Kathy Lee Crosby Wonder Woman movie. He was terrific as the bad guy there. And
played by playing a guy named Abner.
Abner.
It's very difficult to take somebody seriously as a villain named Abner.
But he was also equally good as the suave, sophisticated Mr. Rourke for 9 seasons on Fantasy Island.
Yeah.
He really knew how to handle whatever role he was throwing his way. And Khan, while he played it brilliantly in the TV episode, really exploded when they brought him to the big screen. It's a shame that they never actually had any scenes together.
No.
It was all done through video stuff.
Yeah. Not even video stuff. They're just talking to each other at certain points.
Well, that's what I mean, but it's just like they didn't face each other face to face except on the big screen.
Right.
It was terrific. And Bill Shatner helped him bring out a great performance there, I'm sure. Number 6, Khan Noonien Singh from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Okay, that's a terrific choice.
And not Benedict Cumberbatch.
Fine.
Not that I had a problem with his character, but Into Darkness is my least favorite of the reboot movies. So
Okay. Number 5 on my list is the first of 2 people from this franchise. And this person is so good at playing scary or creepy characters that you had to know he'd wind up on my list someplace. My number 5 is Grima Wormtongue from the Middle-earth series of films directed by Peter Jackson. Grima, who we first see as the advisor to the king of Rohan, who is actually in league with the evil wizard Saruman, and has the
Grima is not the
Grima.
king.
Yeah. Grima is working to basically keep the king under this spell that has him looking all old and enfeebled, and he's basically, he doesn't even know that his son has been killed in battle, and his character is such a slimy D-bag. I mean, he really is. Although that's really not a very nice thing to say, because worms are actually really important because they turn over the soil.
Oh, here we go with
like
the earthy,
that.
crunchy stuff.
You know, they actually serve a purpose in nature. You know, Grima Wormtongue's whole purpose is to make women realize birth control exists. Use it. The whole scene where he's trying to basically push himself on Éomer. Éowyn. The whole thing was he's like trying to. I don't want to use the word seduce Éowyn because that makes me want to throw up in my mouth a little bit. When the members of the Splintered Fellowship actually show up in Rohan, and Gandalf is able to free the king from the spell, and Grima is literally tossed out of the castle, like thrown out, bouncing down the steps. It was so awesome. He is such a loathsome, disgusting, horrible character, played absolutely amazingly well by Brad Dourif, who
specializes in characters like that.
Oh, yeah.
He's very good at
I'd love
them.
to meet him and shake his hand and say, "You make my flesh
He's quite
crawl
fun.
so
I've heard
much."
at various cons he showed up at.
Yeah,
He's
but
quite
his
fun.
character is such. I'm like, this is the, you often wish that other characters could show up in different universes. People do all kinds of crazy crossovers and things like that. One person I would really love to have met Grima Wormtongue, Frank Castle.
What?
Frank Castle, aka the Punisher.
Oh,
Yeah.
Frank Castle.
Yeah.
Sorry.
My number 6, Grima Wormtongue. Ugh. Now I gotta go towel off because I just saying that name makes me all lucky.
Excuse me. My number 5 was a great character, and I got to admit we haven't been watching the show, and I don't think he's been back. But it's like he was great for the time he was on there, the entire first season. He made everything work because the audience was well aware of what he was up to, but the characters on the show did not, because we got to see behind the scenes stuff that they didn't show the heroes on the show.
Right.
And it made a wonderful, because we're like, you gotta see through this guy. He's such a scumbag.
Yeah,
He's not the nice guy you think he is.
We're pulling our hair out as audience members going, ah!
Yeah. My number 5 is Dr. Harrison Wells, a.k.a. Eobard Thawne, played wonderfully by Tom Cavanaugh in Season 1 of CW's The Flash. I don't know if he's been on... He wasn't on the half of Season 2 that we saw, but we're falling behind
Tom
badly.
Cavanaugh is as a different Harrison Wells.
Wells, but he's not Eobard Thawne anymore.
No.
I love Tom Cavanaugh anyway. I've been a fan of his for years.
The one thing that makes my head hurt worse than time travel, alternate universes.
Here's a guy... I mean, this is how ruthless this guy is. He's living in the past because he knows the Flash, played by Grant Gustin, is going to die or disappear at some point from this futuristic, what was the name of it? Gideon.
Yeah.
Computer. And he's willing to do anything to make sure that arrives at that conclusion for some reason. Mm-hmm. We never found out why in the time that we were watching it. I'm sure it's been revealed now, but the thing that bothered me is not only was he pushing Barry and possibly risking everything that he could, for some reason he'd been doing this, Here's a guy who, in the one timeline before everything got screwed up, murdered his protege out of cold blood when Cisco found out what was happening.
Yeah.
Figured out what was happening. And it was only because Barry jumped back in time 24 hours that they managed to save Cisco. And they still don't know that he's dead in the other timeline. Or what happened. Because there was multiple timelines and going crazy. Which we didn't, after we moved, we still haven't caught up on the show.
No,
we need to do that because we love the show.
I know.
But he is so slimy. And you just want to boo and hiss, and yet he's so good at it.
Yeah.
And I love Tom Cavanaugh anyway, like I said. He's good at everything I've ever seen him in. I've loved him in. Although I wasn't a big fan of Ed. I know he was best known for that. But number 5, Eobard Thawne, Dr. Harrison Wells as well. And the new Harrison Wells too, kind of, but not as much as when he was doing both on The Flash.
Okay. Number 5 on my list is also from the Middle-earth saga. My number 5 is Denethor of Gondor.
You asked me about that. Okay.
Now, Denethor is actually, I don't know, some people out there just went, what? Hi, Chris R. But, I'm sorry, R. Chris, I should say. But, the thing is...
Don't confuse R. Chris with the drug dealer from the room.
Sorry.
Jeez.
Apparently, because I haven't read the books, I know, bad me. Denethor is a much different character in the books as opposed to he was done on the screen as portrayed by John Noble in the Peter Jackson films. He's a lot more of a tragic character and doesn't come off half as badly as he does in the film. I can't speak on that.
Okay.
In the film, I wanted to strangle him with his intestines. I mean...
Ew! Did we need to go there?
He is such an unmitigated jerk. He is just this terrible person. He's one of these parents... Now, I have a big problem with this, and I realize my own stuff, shadowing things, daddy issues, whatever. All right. He's one of those parents that plays the kids off of each other and is so blatant.
Although to their credit, I don't think either one of them fell for that.
No, I don't think they did either. I think
because
both...
Boromir expressed great love for his brother.
Yes. Boromir and Faramir loved each other as brothers, and they were very close, and I think they
Despite their father.
Yeah, they also knew their father was a jerk.
Yes, they did.
You get the feeling that even before stuff started going terribly wrong, that Denethor was a very cold, unloving man, only showing affection when it was being used as a weapon against the other child, the unfavored child, which in their case was Faramir. After Boromir's death, when Faramir actually confronts his father and says, you wish I had died, you wish it had been me that had died instead of Boromir, he tells his son, yes, I wish it. And I was like, okay, that's it. I need a crowbar and a very stiff drink.
Oh, she was not happy.
I was like, you want to talk blinding, murderous rage? That got my Irish up so fast. It's not even funny. And we Irish are warriors, and it takes nothing to get us pissed. His whole death at the end of Return of the King, when he almost burns Faramir alive.
But by that point, he's gone off the deep end and doesn't realize it.
Yeah, I realize by that point he is completely backguano crazy.
Right, he doesn't realize Faramir is still alive.
He does right before he does when the fire's already started. Because he sees him move and he's like, Faramir, he calls Faramir's name. Of course, by then it's too late and he's on fire and runs out of the palace and jumps off the parapet and dies. And you know what? I was like, good.
The audience was good. Remember the applause that happened?
I hope you suffer all the way down. I hope you're conscious all the way down. And I hope when you hit the ground, it just breaks your back and you don't die immediately and burn to death.
Oh my God. Really? Yikes.
When I don't like somebody, I don't like somebody.
Obviously.
Although I'm sure John Noble is a lovely person. So my number 5, Denethor of Gondor. Daddy issues? What daddy issues? I'm fine.
My number 4 is... Okay, here we go. I was in the top 4, and I had to really, really sit down and think about what order I had to put them in, because these were the very first, boom, 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 and then I had to think about what order before I went to the rest of them. Mm-hmm. People are going to be pissed because I put this one so low, but there's a reason. My number 4 is an old-fashioned villain. He almost enjoys...
The hand-rubbing, mustache-twirling muhaha.
He almost
kind of
enjoys a good muhaha, although we never get that far, obviously. But although he went up against there's been several incarnations of the character, and I've personally liked the middle one because I'm more used to him than the earlier one or the later one I haven't seen.
Okay.
But there's just something about this guy that makes you see... I mean, he's thoroughly ruthless. He'll kill anybody that gets in his way. He'll do in terribly icky ways. And enjoys it, actually. Mm-hmm. My number 4 is the Master from Doctor Who. I prefer the Anthony Ainley version. What?
No, I'm surprised. Number 4?
Yeah. I prefer the Anthony Ainley version. I like the Roger Delgado, and I haven't seen the gentleman from the new show. But the Master is that wonderful hand-rubbing, muhahaing villain who kills people with no qualms, and yet does his best to tease the Doctor into trying to find out what he's doing, because his ego is that big.
Yeah.
He's the ego that ate, Gallifrey. I love the portrayal of this. I've met Anthony Ainley. He was a wonderfully funny man.
Yeah.
And it was a great deal of fun to meet him.
What do you feel were the big differences, if any, between Roger Delgado's portrayal and Anthony Ainley?
Well, Delgado only worked with John Pertwee, and it was fun to watch him. Mm-hmm. The two of them were good friends off set. They had a great deal of fun, and he was even more of the muhaha at parts. But there was some glint in the eye of Anthony Ainley, who worked well the one time or two times he worked briefly with Tom Baker, and then with Peter Davison, and I believe he worked with Colin also. He was really... there was just something about him that was really fun. Mm-hmm. He had a great chemistry with Tom Baker, with Peter Davison, that I can remember, and it was really... And he worked with all of them on 5 Doctors.
Yeah.
So...
If I could make a comparison, maybe you can tell me if you think that if I'm off on a tangent. Mm-hmm. Would it be accurate to say, in a lot of ways, he's almost the Doctor Who version of the Batman foe, the Riddler?
Yeah, sort of.
In certain ways. What I mean by that is, his whole thing is...
He's more ruthless than the Riddler.
Well,
but
yeah.
He has that ego, definitely.
Right, but my whole thing is, he wants to defeat the Doctor, but before he defeats the Doctor, he wants to prove that he's smarter than the Doctor.
He's also Loki from the Avengers. Mm-hmm. Loki wants to be remembered as smarter than Thor.
Right.
So, there's that. Number 4, the Master from Doctor Who. I prefer the Anthony Ainley, but the Roger Delgado was good too.
Okay. Number 4 on my list is a very bad person. He is a...
VBP.
He's a very bad person, depending on the incarnation. Some of them you're like, okay, well, he had a tragic past, blah, blah, blah. But...
Retcon alert.
But my whole thing with this character is the fact that he makes me angry, but it's not angry like a character like Cruella, because she wants to kill a bunch of puppies, or Denethor, who reminds me of my dad with the favoritism thing. He makes me angry because he frustrates me. Uh-huh. I don't want to slap this guy as much as I want to grab him by the lapels of his very expensive suits and shake him.
Okay.
Because I'm like, you're so damn smart. You're better than this. Why do you do this stupid crap? Then I might smack him. Mm-hmm. My number 4 is the DC Comics villain Lex Luthor.
Oh, okay. I didn't go anywhere near where I thought you were going with that.
Where did you think I was going?
I'm going to tell you.
Okay. The thing about Luthor that drives me completely crazy is the fact that for once, you have all these villains that say, I'm the smartest guy in the world, and I'm a genius, and I'm this, and I'm that, and blah, 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 yada, yada, flambe. The thing is, Luthor can back it up. He really is the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
And if he used those smarts and used them in a way that was proactive and helped people, this is a guy that could solve a ton of problems. He could solve world hunger.
Right.
I am fully convinced this dude could find a cure for cancer.
Okay.
But he takes all of that smarts and focuses it on a 2-word sentence that is on a constant loop in his head. Kill Superman. And it aggravates me. Wasted potential aggravates me.
Now, are we talking the comic character?
Yes, I'm talking the comic character.
Okay.
I mean, there was a whole comic, and this is back in I don't know if it was a Golden Age or Silver Age. Luthor wound up on a planet, an alien planet, and used all his technology and did all this stuff and made it a beautiful utopian paradise. And the people there loved him. He was their leader. They named the planet after him. So, some variation on his name. Mm-hmm. Everything was perfect. And he still threw it all away and wound up, I think, destroying the planet to kill Superman.
Wonderful.
To show he was superior to Superman. And that is so wall-bangingly frustrating!
So you're frustrated then?
Very.
Okay.
So my number 4, Lex Luthor. It's just like, damn it, man. It's that kind of love to hate. Because you're just like, dude.
Yeah.
Just, dude! So.
My number 3, is the kind of villain that you can't help but like because you like his snarky charm.
Okay.
And yet he is ruthless, but not completely without a heart, as that's shown throughout all of the appearances he made on the television show. Because he obviously finds some value in humanity, even though he himself is above that and beyond that. Or so he claims. Mm-hmm. My number 3 is Q from the Star Trek Next Generation universe, wonderfully played by John Delancey throughout all 7 seasons of that and a few DS9 appearances. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he ever appeared on Voyager or not.
I don't remember.
But he was deliciously fun to watch. Mm-hmm. Because
they changed the character.
The character didn't change. He grew as it went throughout the series. He learned more and more because he found humans, I hate to say this, almost as pets. He looked at them as pets that he could watch and observe and see how they learned.
I'd almost say he viewed them not even so much as pets, but more like a kid with ants.
Maybe.
But it was holding a microscope over them.
It was clear he did have genuine affection for Captain Jean-Luc Picard, played by Patrick Stewart. And he was willing to, he got thrown out of the Continuum at one point, and which to me brought to the absolutely funniest moment in the entire run of the series, when Guinan got to stab him in the hand with a fork. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the episode in the 4th season, if I remember right. He was great in everything we saw him in, except Farpoint. I wasn't really terribly impressed with him because, he seemed all too controlling. But as he started to learn about humans and learn how they react, and he started to react in certain ways, like in that episode where Corbin Burnson appeared as another Q later on in the episode, it was clear he was changing and growing with what he was learning from the humans that were running the Starship Enterprise.
I especially agree with you about that episode because when Q is stripped of his powers and he's being attacked by an alien race that now realizes, oh, hey, he's not omnipotent anymore. Get him! And the Enterprise was like, that Picard was like, no, we're not letting you do that. That Q got very reflective about that and realized he wouldn't have done the same thing if the situations were reversed. And that maybe this primitive species wasn't really so primitive after all.
Yeah. John Delancey was terrific in that role. I was always pissed that he never got an Emmy nomination for the role. And it was terrific to watch him in that. I've loved him anyway as an actor and everything he's ever done, and he's just terrific. And Q is just a great character. From Star Trek The Next Generation, my number 3. Villain you love to hate, the omnipotent Q, who is possibly the offspring of Trelane from the original series.
Possibly.
I still think, but we'll get into that at another time, maybe.
Number 3 on my list is the one that I think you're going to be a little bit like, what? But I had to put this on here simply because I hate her character.
Okay.
Which is her job. That's why she's out there. The problem is that, side note, this is a wrestling term, so bear with me for a minute. There's a wrestling term called heat. Now, heat is what a bad guy is supposed to get. When a bad guy is booed, that's called heat. Boo, you suck, we hate you. That's heat.
Boo, you suck, we hate you, die is known as X-Pac heat.
Yes.
Now it's known as Ms. Heat.
Now it's known as Ms. Heat, yeah. My number 3 is Stephanie McMahon.
And we're talking the televised character version of Stephanie.
I am talking about the billion-dollar princess Stephanie McMahon.
Not the real Stephanie.
I am not
quite a nice lady.
No, I am not talking about Stephanie McMahon, the human being,
right? Whom
I have never met, and is probably a very nice person, and so on and so forth, etc. Covering my butt. Stephanie McMahon, the character, is someone I would like to introduce to Leatherface.
Oh my God.
She is this awful character as a wrestling. She's one of the general. Well, she's the daughter of the owner of the World Wrestling Entertainment. The reason I hate Stephanie's character so much right now is because I feel like a dog on the end of a very short chain that has been treated badly one too many times and is straining on the end of the leash.
Okay.
Because WWE is a public company and we're in a different era and everything is so
A lot has changed since the Attitude Era nearly 20 years ago. Yeah.
God, yes. We can't get stuff like seeing somebody like Stephanie get driven through a table or get a Stone Cold Stunner or anything like that, which would which is proof in the Raw 25th anniversary show. Mm-hmm. Wasn't that what it was? Something like that. Where Shane ended up taking 2 stunners and Stephanie got off with none. Yeah, Stephanie got out of the ring. Shane got 2 Stone Cold Stunners. Vince got a stunner. And Stephanie got out of the ring.
Shane took hers, basically. Yeah.
And I'm just like,
which is a shame, because Shane's a good guy right now.
And I'm just, oh my God, I miss the 90s. Because that's the thing that I truly hate about her character. She goes out there and verbally emasculates men and women that work for her week after week, and nothing ever happens to her.
She hasn't actually been out that much lately.
Not lately, no. Because they actually listen to the fans, I think, who have been online saying, when she comes on, our TVs go off.
Yeah, it's Stephanie and Triple H who have been in charge of a lot of the stuff over the last couple years, and it's becoming visibly evident with the rise of the younger and smaller wrestlers, because Vince is still, Vince tried to take over 205 Live and made a hash of it a couple weeks ago. So Triple H
as I said, this is Stephanie McMahon the character, not Stephanie McMahon the person. I want to make that very, very clear. Like I said, she's acting, she's playing a part. And she does it very well, obviously, because
Vince has done for years.
She obviously plays her part very well, because I would like her to have an unfortunate accident with a wood chipper. But that's her character, not her.
Right.
in case there's any lawyers listening. So my number 3, Stephanie McMahon from the WWE.
My number 2 is the only person on my list that you've mentioned so far, and I think you know who it is.
I have a feeling, yeah, considering how shocked you were.
My number 2 is J.R. Ewing from Dallas. I loved Dallas from the beginning. We started watching it when it first premiered. My mom and I were hooked up to the last 3 or 4 seasons. I stayed with it until the whole Bobby in the shower thing happened and ruined what was up to that point the best season in 3 years with the show.
I stopped watching at that point too, but I did come back for the finale, and I still wish I
did too. I love the finale because the finale left it open with a cliffhanger, and she was pissed. I thought the finale was awesome, and of course, it ended up running for 3 more seasons on TNT. Didn't do well, and of course it was canceled after Larry's death. But
well, you can't have Dallas without JR.
Yeah, it doesn't work without JR. Even with his son out there doing kind of crazy things. J.R. Ewing was just the perfect amorals 70s villain. He was, in the original series, he would come in, start talking smack to his wife and to his brother's wife, Pamela, who was dared to be Digger Barnes' daughter, who were their family's ruthless enemies with. And, swilling his bourbon and branch there, talking about all kinds of things, and then going off and doing all kinds of things behind the scenes to ruin practically every other oil man in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Yeah.
And he did it all with a little twinkle in his teeth, little smile, and a little wink of that darling charm.
Yeah.
Like you said. Larry actually recorded a song in 1980 called My Favorite Sins. It was a takeoff on My Favorite Things. Mm-hmm. He hosted the Midnight Special one night during the Who Shot JR mess to perform that, and Ballad of the Good Luck Charm was the flip side of it. It's actually not that listenable. He's not that great of a singer, but the lyrics are funny, and it does get played on Dr. Demento every now and then. And it's a perfect description of the character.
Right.
He was delicious in that. He continued to be delicious at it, even with his declining health. He was good at it. And the reunion movie they did in the late 90s, he was great there too. I mean, J.R. Ewing is perhaps the best villain ever created for American television, and it really, he just, and you could see that smile was genuine. Larry loved playing that character.
Yeah, he did.
He was very possessive of that character, and was great. And he was great when he made guest shots on Knots Landing too, on the odd occasion. My number 2, J.R. Ewing from Dallas.
Okay. Number 2 on my list shouldn't really be a surprise to anybody who knows me and knows what I'm into. Number 2 is the shadow behind everything, the dark puppet master that pushed all of the pieces on the galactic chessboard to where they were. My number 2 is Emperor Palpatine. Well, he started as Senator Palpatine and became Emperor Palpatine in the Star Wars universe.
In the prequels.
Yeah, in the prequels. He is one of the most loathsome, evil, unredeemable, absolutely awful characters ever, I think. I mean, I can't stand that character, which is, of course, the point. Because, I mean, people look at Vader as the bad guy and stuff like that. And in Episode 4, Vader is the bad guy. Although we do know that if there's an empire, there has to be an emperor. We didn't actually see the Emperor until we saw him as a hologram in Empire Strikes Back, and we didn't see him in the flesh until Return of the Jedi. Portrayed by Ian McDiarmid in the film Return of the Jedi and also in the prequels, Senator and then Emperor Palpatine is the best example of the phrase power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. He is behind the scenes manipulating everybody during the whole war between the Galactic Republic and the Trade Federation. he's playing both ends against the middle, being part of the Senate and being the Sith Lord Darth Sidious that is helping the Trade Federation. He's the reason that Anakin turned to the dark side. And the way that he turned Anakin to the dark side is what makes it that vomit-inducing.
He was very skillful at what he did, yes.
But the reason why it makes me so angry is the fact that he didn't seduce Anakin to the dark side by promises of wealth or power or anything like that. He seduced Anakin with love. Mm-hmm. He made Anakin believe that only Anakin's turning to the dark side would be able to save Padme. And the fact that Anakin started on that slippery slope and then went down it faster than I don't think anybody else ever did, is and Palpatine just stood back and smirked about the whole thing. It's so fitting that he would meet his end at the hands of his own creation in Return of the Jedi when Darth Vader turns on him because he won't let Palpatine corrupt and kill his son Luke. Mm-hmm. He's an awful, evil being. My number 2, Emperor Palpatine.
Alrighty, that's good. Any clues to my number 1?
I really thought the Master was going to be your number 1, but
right show, wrong character. My number 1 is a character that was introduced in one episode.
I know.
One episode of the show, and he's gone on to become a legend with the show thanks to the fans just going nuts over the character. And I still, one of these days when the Brattle plays this, and they've played it a couple of times, we need to go see the original because it's I think, my all-time favorite episode of the show, or episode set of the show. Mm-hmm. And it is just tremendous because we find out a lot of how the Daleks think. And the Daleks think the way they do because their master, their creator, thought that way. My number 1 is Davros from the Doctor Who continuum. Davros created the Daleks. And we first see him in the excellent Tom Baker episode, Genesis of the Daleks, in Tom's first season on the show, and second season on the show. And he was magnificent in this show, where we get to see the thinking behind this madman who is building these robots supposedly to take care of the people of his planet Skaro, when actually he intends to use them to wipe them out. He wants to be conqueror of the universe. Davros makes several appearances from that point on across the universe, appearing with Davison and
he doesn't get any better looking anytime.
With Colin Baker. I don't remember if he appeared with Sylvester McCoy, and he has appeared on the new show. I think it's interesting to see the many ways Davros comes up with to keep himself alive. That's how it started. We see him inside the first half Dalek as a life support unit. Mm-hmm. And he's used this to perpetuate what will become the most feared conquerors in the universe, in that universe.
Is it explained, can I just, quick question, real time out, is it ever explained why he still is a humanoid figure and the rest of the Daleks all look like somebody got sick in a bucket? Because
he doesn't want to become entirely inhuman.
Too late.
Yeah, but he doesn't see it that way.
Well, nobody does.
No, he does. Genesis of the Daleks is my favorite Doctor Who serial, and this is why. Mm-hmm. And Davros is this thoroughly repugnant scientist who is thoroughly evil, and yet you love to say, wow, he's the Doctor's equal in the way he thinks, the way he goes off of things. He's even worse than the Master.
Damn.
That's where you think about it. My number 1 villain you most love to hate, Davros from the Doctor Who universe.
Okay.
What about you, darling?
My number 1, I think you probably know who my number 1 is.
I thought it was Darth Vader, but I was wrong.
No, it's not. when you see a character on screen, or when they come into a book, or when wherever you see them, some characters you have an actual visceral reaction to them. Something about them brings something up in you that you can't explain for good or for ill. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. The first time we see in Fellowship of the Ring, the first time we see Boromir come riding into Rivendell, and he's on his horse, and he just looks magnificent.
She's there.
Yeah, I know. I was like a 13-year-old girl at a Justin Bieber concert. It was just...
And we had to put up with that all 6 times we saw the film.
I'm a woman. I have needs. Don't judge me.
And then the crying jag got worse and worse at the end of the movie.
I have feelings, okay? I'm very friggin' sensitive.
Feelings. Nothing more than
But
feelings.
certain characters engender a reaction in you the first time you see them. I mean, the first time you see Michael Myers as a grown adult in The Mask, you're like, oh crap, things just got really, really bad. That kind of a thing. The first time you see James Bond looking all smooth and elegant, you're like...
It's another one of those moments when she's like...
You're like, hello, nurse.
Especially the Daniel Craig version.
When this character showed up on screen, in the second movie she appeared in, we're in a crowded theater, I didn't care. I growled. I mean, I actually growled like a bear, like a dog getting ready to attack. Because I hate this character.
Uh-huh.
I hate this character with the heat of 1,000 exploding suns. My number one character that I love to hate, Dolores Umbridge from the Harry Potter series. Dolores is a woman who works for the Ministry of Magic in the Harry Potter universe. She eventually becomes the defense against the dark arts teacher at Hogwarts, and she's the senior undersecretary to the Minister of Magic. This woman is I can't use that word.
No, but we decided that you can use that name as that word.
Think of the very worst thing you can call a woman.
It's Tuesday. I'm telling you, just use Tuesday.
Yeah.
People will get it.
The word that if you called another woman that, the next thing she'd do would be take off her earrings. That's what Dolores Umbridge is. She is a monster in pink. She's this woman that acts all sweetly condescending, and inside she is a rabid bigot. She is a woman who is not above torturing school-age children. And when I mean torture, I mean literal physical torture. When Harry's trying to convince everybody else that he who must not be named is back, she makes him she makes him take lines, and everybody...
Yeah, but he's not the first person she's done that to.
No.
She's done that to a couple little kids, too.
She makes him take lines, and everybody knows what taking line means. The whole Bart Simpson thing. I will not burn down the school. I will not burn down the school. That kind of a thing. She makes him take lines with something called a blood quill. What a blood quill is first of all, it's banned. It's a piece of magical equipment that's banned by her own government. She tells him to write out on a piece of paper, I must not tell lies. And as Harry starts writing this down, his hand starts to hurt, and the phrase, I must not tell lies, appears on his hand like someone was carving it into his flesh, and the ink that is writing down his words is his own blood.
Mm-hmm.
This is a child doing this.
Well, at that point, he's well aware of who he is and old enough to know better. As far as compared to everything else,
she is the worst example of an authority figure who is supposed to be there to protect children and nurturing them and betraying them in one of the worst ways possible. She is an awful human being, and when at the end of the last time we see her in one of the films before we see her again, in the next film, she's being dragged off by a bunch of centaurs.
Rightfully so.
In the Forbidden Forest. Those of you who are familiar with Greek mythology know how centaurs used to deal with human women they found.
Uh-huh.
Good.
Okay.
And I would like to say none of this is a reflection upon Imelda Staunton,
Who is wonderful in the role.
who is a wonderful actress in everything else I've ever seen her in, and
Including
I'm also,
this, obviously, because you hate her so much.
And I'm also not advocating anybody actually suffer the fate that is we assume Dolores suffers in the Forbidden Forest. Mm-hmm. But her character is so terrible to the point where Stephen King actually said that, quote, Dolores is, quote, the greatest make-believe villain to come along since Hannibal Lecter, end quote. Stephen freaking King.
Yep.
The prosecution rests. My number one character that I love to hate, Dolores Umbridge from the Harry Potter universe.
Recapping quickly, my number 10 was Suzanne Sugarbaker from Designing Women. Number 9, Angela Channing from Falcon Crest. Number 8, Diana from V. Number 7, Abby Cunningham Ewing from Knots Landing. Number 6, Khan Noonien Singh from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Number 5, Eobard Thawne and Dr. Harrison Wells from the Flash TV series. Number 4, The Master, Doctor Who. Number 3, Q, Star Trek The Next Generation. Number 2, J.R. Ewing, Dallas. And number 1, Davros from Doctor Who.
Okay. My list from 10 to 1, Carl Denham from King Kong. J.R. Ewing from Dallas, Cruella DeVille, 101 Dalmatians, Grand Moff Tarkin from the Star Wars universe, number 6, Grima Wormtongue from the Middle-earth saga, number 5, Denethor of Gondor, also from the Middle-earth saga, number 4, Lex Luthor from DC Comics, number 2, Stephanie McMahon, the character from the WWE, number 2, Emperor Palpatine from the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, number 3, Stephanie McMahon. You said number 2.
Sorry, number 3, Stephanie McMahon, the character. Number 2, Emperor Palpatine from the Star Wars universe. And the number 1 character that I love to hate, Dolores Umbridge from the Harry Potter universe.
We frequently use the word Umbridge to describe that particular
that word.
Female word. Yeah.
The worst word you can use. Don't
forget, we are here every Thursday, supposedly, with new lists every week, and we hope that you'll send in your contributions. We would love to use them, and if we do use them, you get full credit and a prize. And you can do that by sending it to Front Row at PNRNetworks or Subject Cinema at PNRNetworks, and we'll see what we can do. We have other shows we'll talk about in a second, but right now I'm trying to decide between two different things here.
Okay.
For next week's show.
Flip a coin.
Okay. All right. We're going to go to the big screen.
Okay.
And some of the most, I don't know how to describe this, and it's going to get us in trouble with certain people.
Oh, yay.
The top 10 most pretentious films we've ever seen.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
These are movies that we thought were just like, really? And I don't know if I can come up with 10. I'm going to have to try. It was either that or a different one I had in mind, but I think
I can come up with 10.
Okay.
No problem.
All right. So that's going to be it. Don't forget to check out all of our other shows on the PNR networks here. We've got Cavebabble with Eric and Valerie Lyon over at cavebabble.com. Comic Grotto with Aunt B and Pee Wee at comicgrotto.com. Platinum Roses Garden with Kim at platinumrosesgarden.com. Kim's Wrestling Show, Ring Around the Rosie at ringaroundtherosie.net. You've also got all of our show, Catastrophe Vortex with yours truly, when I can get it up at catastrophevortex.com. And we have our other regular shows right here, Subject Cinema, which you can also go to subjectcinema.com and get. And our two mini shows, Front Row, our 3-Minute Weekend on Fridays with the new films, and Tuesday Digidex on Tuesdays with the new home video releases.
Okay.
I think that covered everything.
I think that's everything, yeah.
And so...
Well, there's also Manhattan Hammerdown.
And don't forget to check out our first original production. It's at manhattanhammerdown.com. It's called Manhattan Hammerdown As It Happened, an original dramatic production from the PNR Networks team, celebrating the 10th anniversary of Cloverfield. Please check it out. Leave us comments and let us know what you think on our shows, on our sites, and definitely come aboard as a Patreon supporter. We can't do what we want to do without your support. We thank you for listening. We definitely want you to like, subscribe, and share, but also please become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/PNRNetworks.
Yep. I think that's it.
I do too.
So this is Kim Brown.
And I'm TC Kirkham.
And we hope we can count on you to come back next week and help us count up our next list here on Front Row 5 and 10.
I'll count on it.
Bye.
You've been listening to Front Row 5 and 10 with Kim Brown and TC Kirkham.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.